Welcome back. The Chief Secretary to the Treasury, James Murray, joins me now. Mr. Murray, lovely to see you.
Good morning.
It's great to see you as ever, because you often come in here and take one for the team. But where's the Chancellor?
Well, the Chancellor's been giving some other interviews this morning, and she'll be working today as she does every day of the week.
It's unbelievable, isn't it, that in the nearly 3 years I've done this show, she hasn't once appeared.
Well, I hope you like having me on the show, and I work very closely with the Chancellor.
It's a really critical weekend, isn't it? And GB News listeners and viewers pay tax. They've now been saddled with ever higher bills, seemingly on the basis of a lie. So let me ask you this, Mr. Murray. What was the bigger con, the Chancellor's CV or this budget?
No, look, what this budget set out to do was to cut the cost of living, keep cutting NHS waiting lists and cut government borrowing. And that's exactly what it did. Now, that meant that we had to take some decisions, the right and necessary decisions, but decisions when it came to taxation. But we did that in a way that kept the burden on working people as low as possible. And that meant that we were able to, as I said, cut the cost of living with £150 off energy bills, to keep cutting NHS waiting lists and to cut government borrowing. Because at the moment, £1 in £10 of taxpayers' money is spent servicing the interest from debt.
Yes.
That's got to change, and that's what this budget set out to do.
Right, OK. Let's just get down to the nuts and bolts of this. We've got a Chancellor who lied in her CV. We then got a Chancellor who lied in the manifesto, saying that taxes wouldn't go up. Taxes have gone up. We then had a lie that they wouldn't be imposed on working people. Now she's been revealed to have lied about the reason for putting tax up. So it was a complete and utter deceit, not just of Parliament, not just of the markets, but of the general public, in claiming that you had to put taxes up because you had this black hole that didn't actually exist. There was no black hole because the OBR had turned round to the Chancellor on October the 31st and said, actually, you're more than $4 billion in surplus. Why did she lie about the existence of a black hole?
She didn't. And
yes, she
I reject your claims. And can I tell you why? Let me tell you why. Because what the OBR set out at the end of October in their forecast, firstly, it set out clearly that there had been a productivity downgrade of £16 billion. Now, going into the budget process, we also knew we wanted to get headroom up. And that headroom is critical to helping to get the cost of government borrowing and to getting mortgages down. So we went into the budget with those priorities, and the Chancellor set them out. She set out in her speech in early November that we needed more headroom, that everyone was going to be asked to make a contribution, and that our priorities in the budget would be to cut the cost of living, cut NHS waiting lists, and cut that government borrowing.
But she didn't put this down on the 4th of November when she held that emergency speech early in the morning. Kemi Badenoch referenced it in her response to the budget. You know, we are interrupting your Cheerios with this dire announcement. She said there'd been a productivity downgrade.
Which there had been, of £16 billion.
OK, and she claimed, and you have all claimed, that there was this black hole, a black hole in Britain's finances. There isn't a black hole in Britain's finances if the OBR has turned round to the Chancellor 4 days before she made this scaremongering speech and told her actually she's £4.2 billion in surplus. She could have said, I want to increase my fiscal headroom, therefore I need to increase taxes. She didn't say that, so she's lied to the public, she's lied to Parliament, and she has misled the markets, which is a very serious offence.
I'm sorry, I really have to jump in here, because look at what the Chancellor actually said in her speech in early November. You know, you're assigning phrases to what the Chancellor said. Look at what she actually said in
Officials let it be known that the OBR productivity downgrade would blow a hole of 20 billion or more in the Chancellor's fiscal plans.
What did the
So are you now
Chancellor
saying the officials are lying on behalf of the Chancellor?
Your personal data could be exposed right now without you even knowing it. And if you want it removed, use incogni.com/GB News in the description now and get 60% off an annual plan on us. Incogni reach out to the data brokers on your behalf and request that your information be deleted from their databases. And they'll keep sending removal requests to make sure your data stays gone. Sometimes your information ends up on strange, obscure websites that automated tools just can't reach. And that's why Incogni just launched their unlimited plan with a feature called Custom Removals. With this, you can submit any link where your personal information appears, literally paste in the URL, and their privacy team will investigate and work to get it removed. And getting started is super easy. Hit the link in the description, create an Incogni account, and tell them whose data you want removed. Grant them permission to work on your behalf, and then all you've got to do is sit back and relax. They'll keep you updated along the way. Incogni is totally risk-free for 30 days. If you try it, it's not for you, you'll get a full refund. So take back control of your personal data today with Incogni. Use our code GBNews at checkout via the link in the description, and you'll get 60% off an annual plan.
You're saying that officials didn't tell us that there was a 20 billion black hole in the finances. That was what was briefed by the Chancellor's own people. She said in her speech on the 4th of November, she played up the economy's dire state, nurturing expectations of a manifesto-breaking tax raid. We'll all have to contribute, she said. She said that the situation had changed. I'm sorry, she said, I can't account for this, what I would like the situation to be. I've got to account for what it is. But the situation was different to what she presented because she actually had £4.2 billion in the coffers, not a 20 billion black hole as had been briefed.
Look, I'm really glad you're giving me a chance to address exactly what the Chancellor said in that speech in early November. And what she said in that speech in early November was that everyone would have to make a contribution because there was an impact in terms of the productivity downgrade, the productivity review that the OBR was looking at. And she was clear that her priorities would be to cut NHS waiting lists, to cut the cost of living and to cut government borrowing. So she was very clear about the challenges that she was facing and the principles that she would approach the budget with. And may I say one more thing, because this is really important. Because imagine if I had been coming on your show this morning and we'd only have had headroom of a few £1 billion, you would rightly say to me, James, that is completely unacceptable.
No, what's unacceptable?
That does not give you a buffer. That does not give us the protection we need in the public finances. What we needed to do was to get the headroom up, and that's exactly what we did.
Let's talk about what's unacceptable. What's unacceptable is for the public parliament and the markets to be misled with officials briefing about a 20 billion black hole. Things people the Chancellor blamed for black holes. Brexit, Donald Trump, Liz Truss. There was no black hole. You had 4.2 billion in the coffers and you didn't tell the public. Why didn't you tell the public?
I'm sorry, but
why didn't you tell the public about that surplus?
We were absolutely upfront with the public about the fact that there had been a productivity. We're absolutely upfront with the public about the challenges that we faced in early November.
Why didn't the Chancellor tell the public on November the 4th, 4 days after she'd been told by the OBR she had 4.2 billion in the coffers? Why didn't she tell anyone?
That was still an OBR forecast before any measures had been considered. So any measures had not been considered by that stage.
Why didn't she tell the public that she was in surplus, not in deficit at that point?
What she told the public...
And the PM knew this as well.
What we told the public was that we were facing challenges because of the OBR downgrading productivity. And what that forecast told us was that that was the case to the tune of £16 billion. So the productivity downgrade, which is the result of the mishandling of Brexit, of the austerity of the previous government, that had an impact on public finances to the tune of £16 billion. And we had to, and it was critical to us to increase the headroom. So you're selective with the information.
You are selective with the information that you are giving to the public, parliament and the markets because you decide to keep secret the fact that the OBR had told the Chancellor she had 4.2 billion.
No, we said that the public finances...
When did you tell us you had 4.2 billion?
Look, the Chancellor, the government ministers...
You didn't tell us.
Government ministers do not give a running commentary of every round of forecasting.
Oh, they give a running commentary to justify tax rises.
They do not give a running commentary of the numbers.
So they tell the public the information they want to release, but don't tell the public that they've actually got 4.2 billion pounds in the coffers.
So look, the budget process is an iterative process between the OBR and Treasury in terms of exchanging forecasts and figures and then measures from the Treasury. What the Chancellor chose to do in early November was to be upfront with people about the fact that we were facing a big hit because of productivity being reviewed, and that was the case to the tune of £16 billion, that we needed to increase headroom, that the headroom was really important.
But the OBR said in the end there was only a 2.6 billion, a 2.5 billion shortfall. You still haven't answered the question. Why did she keep the 4.2 billion she had in surplus secret?
That was part of the iterative process between the OBR and the Treasury, but she made very clear in early November the challenges that we face.
Not revealing information is in itself misleading. Do you understand that?
She did.
Okay.
She did in early November say that we face these challenges, and she was clear about the challenges we face and the principles which she'd approach the budget with.
You've breached the manifesto because you've put taxes up, haven't you?
No.
What?
No.
Are you for real?
Yes.
You told You told the people in the manifesto, the Labour manifesto, that you are only going to put taxes up by 8.5 billion. You've actually, between the last budget and this budget, put it up by 66 billion, including 26 on Wednesday. And you're telling me you didn't breach the manifesto?
We said in the manifesto that we would keep taxes on working people as low as possible, and that's exactly what we've done.
Mr. Murray, you aren't seriously telling me that after a £26 billion tax raid, largely to pay for welfare, which is people on benefits, some of whom who work, many that don't, that you're not taxing working people in the budget?
No, we are asking working people to make a contribution.
So you are taxing working people?
We are asking working people
to make... So you've broken the manifesto?
No. Let me just explain this really clearly, right?
I think I've explained it clearly and you are obfuscating.
Can I respond to it? Because what we said in the budget, what the Chancellor was really upfront about, is that we are asking everyone to make a contribution through the extension of the freezers to thresholds. But we're also clear that we are keeping the tax burden on working people as low as we possibly can because of other changes that we've made.
That is an extraordinary fudge.
It's the truth.
So you're saying that you can honour the manifesto commitment because you haven't directly put taxes up on working people, because you haven't actually put up income tax, even though she floated the idea on November the 4th, despite knowing that she had 4.2 billion in the coffers. And you're saying, no, it's not technically a tax rise because we're doing it by stealth, by freezing the thresholds for another 3 years.
No, I'm sorry.
$26 billion in taxes on working people is a tax on working people.
There's no stealth tax if you say it there in Parliament what you're doing. She was completely upfront about what she was doing. The manifesto said we wouldn't increase the rates of income tax and national insurance on workers. We didn't do that. What the manifesto also said is we would keep the tax burden on working people as low as possible, and that's what we've done.
In Britain, who pays tax?
Well, people pay it on all sorts of things. People pay it on their work, people pay it on property income, people on dividends, people pay it on savings,
so
people pay it on the property. There's lots of different things people tax on.
Workers pay tax, correct? Yes. If the tax bill has gone up by 26 billion, workers are being taxed, aren't they, Mr. Murray?
We are asking everyone to make a contribution.
So you have broken the manifesto?
No, because the manifesto said we would not increase those rates of income tax and national insurance on working people, and that we would keep the tax burden on working people as low as possible.
The other lie in the manifesto and indeed the budget is the idea that you are in any way cutting welfare. Welfare is actually going up by another 70 billion, and by the end of the Parliament will be 403 billion. So you're doing nothing to cut benefits at all.
Well, look, we started...
The rebellion was just, showmanship.
We started the process of reforming welfare. Earlier in the year, we agreed that we were going to change universal credit so it never pays to be off sick rather than in work. And then in the budget last week, we set out changes to Motability to make sure that people can't get a luxury car on that system.
Can we agree that the welfare bill will go up by the end of the Parliament, not down?
Well, what we can agree on, I hope, is that the welfare system needs to change. And that's what we're going to do over this Parliament.
Mr. Murray, is the welfare bill going up or down by the end of the Parliament?
Well, the overall welfare bill as a proportion of GDP is broadly stable, but we need to make sure that it works. We need to make sure that it works, and it needs to change.
It needs to change.
Look, if you're asking me, are we done on reforming welfare? Absolutely not. The welfare system needs to change. We've begun the processes of reform in what we did earlier this year with the universal credit, what we're doing now with Motability and fraud and error and getting young people into work. But we need to do more, and that's why the welfare system needs to change.
The welfare bill's going up, isn't it? I just need confirmation that that's a yes, because I can see the figures in front of me.
Well, the figures are set out in the budget
Welfare's
documents.
Going up.
But look,
is it going up, yes or no? Because we've got to finish.
Well, the welfare bill overall as a proportion of GDP is broadly stable, but it needs to change.
She said growth is my number one mission, growth at 1.5%.
Which is an upgrade from 1%.
James Murray, thank you very much for joining me this morning.